In the District of Columbia, the Democratic representative of Texas, Jasmine Crockett, courageously addressed Republican hypocrisy and allegations of electoral fraud, refusing to be interrupted by the Republican representative of Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Must watch. Happen Just Now. Enjoy hearing your thoughts. Please leave comments. Thanks.
Ms. Crockett's recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't really know where to begin. So we're going to start with a few questions. I got a little quiz for y'all. So we've been talking about the right to vote. I just need a yes or no from each of the witnesses, and we'll start with Ms. Weiser. Is voting a constitutionally protected federal right?
Yes, it's constitutionally protected through multiple provisions.
Okay. Ms. Evans, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Spies, yes or no?
Yes.
And Mr. Cucciolini, yes or no?
It is constitutionally protected.
Okay, thank you. We've heard a lot of talk today about things such as buying alcohol. Ms. Weiser, is alcohol a federally protected constitutional right?
It is not.
Ms. Evans?
It is not.
Mr. Spies?
No.
Mr. Cucciolini?
Cuccinelli, you need an ID to buy it, but no.
Okay, all right. And finally, we like to talk about guns, or at least some people in this building love to talk about guns. Guns, is there an amendment dealing with guns in our federal Constitution?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Spies?
Spies, yes.
Spies. And yes, sir.
Yes, there is, and you need an ID to buy it.
Okay, so let's talk about it. So I hail from the great state of Texas, and what's interesting to me is we always want to talk about privileges and compare what is required for a privilege versus comparing what is required for a constitutionally protected right under our federal Constitution. And it's interesting that in this chamber, we love to talk about the Second Amendment, and we want to make sure that everyone has guns, and we only have one amendment in our Constitution that deals with guns, and it's the Second Amendment. And Professor Weiser, you were just about to say we have multiple provisions, so you were messing up my test a little bit. So I'm not gonna let you answer the question. I'm gonna go down here to these experts. Let's start and go the other way. Do we know how many amendments actually address voting in our Constitution?
Well, it depends how you count them, but you could say 3, 5th,
Okay.
14th, 15th,
Okay. Mr. Spies?
plus the DC amendments.
And maybe first.
Yeah.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Okay, Professor, go ahead and break it down.
I believe it's 6.
There we go, there we go. So we got the 14th, we got the 15th, 17th, wait a minute, did I mess up? 19th, 24th, and 26th. There we go. All right, so we have 6 amendments.
23rd.
And 20.
And every time we dealt with an amendment dealing with voting, we were expanding upon access. Is that not correct?
That is correct. That is the history of this country. Expanding
Okay,
access.
the history is to expand, but obviously there are some folk that want to rewrite history and make sure we go back in time. So let's also talk a little bit more about history for a couple of seconds. There was this little thing called the Voting Rights Act. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I am.
Are you also familiar with this thing called Bloody Sunday?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so are you familiar with the fact that there are black folk that died in this country to make sure that black folk had access to the ballot box?
Yes, that is correct.
Are you also familiar with the fact that probably around 1913 or sometime around there was maybe a women's suffrage march?
Yes.
And that was a fight, again, for women to have access to the ballot box, was it not?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so we have had throughout history these fights to make sure that everyone is accessing the ballot box, but seemingly when it comes down to, say, guns in this country, which are the #1 killer of children in this country, we haven't had half as many hearings about guns as we've had on voting rights. And every time we seemingly have a hearing on voting rights, we talking about the fact that people are cheating. So let's talk about who's cheating. I got a few articles. Are you familiar with the fact that there was recently a settlement with this little news company called Fox News?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That was for about $780-something million. Was it because they were lying about the elections?
Yes, it was for a.
Okay, there we go. I'm running out of time, so I'm gonna keep going. There also was this article, because I don't want us to base anything on Georgia at all. Please, Jesus, not Georgia. Okay, because Georgia purged 87,000.
Will the gentlewoman
that
yield?
should
I
not-
think
will
Georgia
not-
matters.
I will not yield. I am reclaiming my time. All right, so there were 87,000 people that were purged that were legitimate voters. So no, we don't want to copy off of Georgia. Also, another GOP voter admits he committed fraud. Another one in Pennsylvania, man who admits he voted for Trump with his dead mom's name because he listened to too much propaganda.
The gentlelady's time has expired.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to Happen Just Now for more content about accountability of all public officials and policy and procedures.